Hello, friends. It's your boy Jeff here again with you, and we're back in the spin zone. Uh, got 10 more albums to show you. Like I said, I've been a busy boy again this week. So, without further ado, let's get started. First up is I finally played the Music Matters Blue Note version of Finger Poppin' with the Horace Silver Quintet. And what can I say, man? This album is freaking awesome. I played this, well, the first time I played it, I was just blown away by the sound quality and the music. So I've listened to it a couple times since, and this is the 45 RPM pressing. So it does require a little more flipping of sides because there's only like 2 songs per side, but still, the music is just fantastic, and the sound is fantastic too. So, even if I never get another one of these Music Matters discs, I'll always treasure this one for sure. And I got to search out more by Horace Silver, and I've seen a few of his albums pop up on the VC. Sorry. So yeah, this gives me another direction to go in besides Coltrane and Miles Davis. So for that, I'm very thankful. This was from Baraka P-Dub. So thank you, my man. This was a fantastic album. Fantastic album. Another album that I think is pretty fantastic, even though my wife probably doesn't, is Roll With It by Steve Winwood. I got this from Red at Redco Music as VCLT, and I have this on CD. This was one of the first CDs I ever bought when I got my first CD player in 1988. So this is one of those flip ones. And this album's a little more sounds a little more robotic than back in the High Life. I think that's mostly because he plays a lot of the instruments himself again. Steve Winwood likes to make solo albums where it's really just him playing. But the songs are great. His voice is great. And this is just a fun album to listen to. This one was also from 1988. So Roll With It by Steve Winwood. That's a great one. Then one of my favorite album titles of this group, Stand Back. Here comes Charlie Musselwhite's Southside Band. This was another great Chicago blues album featuring Charlie Musselwhite, who plays blues harmonica. This was a reissue, obviously. This was also from Baraka P-Dub. I think this was the last album of his that he sent me that I played. And yeah, this is just, again, it has that classic South Side of Chicago 60s blues sound, which does it for me every single time. So this is another highly recommended blues album for any of you who are thinking about blues or Chicago blues. Stand Back. This is a great, great album. Then my new friend Emma over at 8 Vinyl Low was nice enough to send me a VCLT package, and she included one of her favorite British blues bands, if not her very favorite, Savoy Brown. This is the album called Street Corner Talking. Oh. I stick the letters in the sleeve when I get them, when I remember to do it. Here's the back, and I gotta open the gatefold to look at the song titles because I did recognize some stuff off of this. I didn't think I was gonna. Tell Mama. I've heard that song before. I just didn't know it was Savoy Brown. What was another one? There was another one. Oh, the cover of I Can't Get Next to You. I've heard that before too, and I really liked it. But it's one of those things where I just didn't know it was Savoy Brown. Obviously, I didn't hear it on satellite radio. I heard it on FM. There's the gatefold. And This album is in very, very nice shape. The cover is in great shape. The sound was fantastic. And the British blues guys, they were really good too when it comes to the blues sound. So I know these guys didn't get to be as famous as maybe some other bands in the British blues scene, which is a shame because um, these guys were good. They had it. They had the blues, man. So I'll have to keep my eye out in the future for more Savoy Brown because I really dug this album. So thank you for that, Emma. And then the other album, one of the other albums that she also included was this one by Bad Company called Run with the Pack. Um, Usually I find albums that have such shiny silver covers like these or gold covers don't last all that long unless they're, and we get extra glare with it too, unless they're well cared for. And this album has been obviously well cared for. Um, I recognize the title track. I've heard that before. And the song Silver, Blue, and Gold, I knew that. But overall, it was nice to hear other Bad Company songs that weren't the same three or four albums off of songs off of like the first album or the second album. You know, I've heard Ready for Love a million times. Okay, I get it. Can't Get Enough of Your Love. That's another one. So it was nice to hear a little variety with Bad Company just because they're a great band too. Paul Rogers is a great, great singer. So it was pleasant to listen to different Bad Company than the usual fare. So thank you for this, Emma. Then from that, we move on to Genesis. This is their album, And Then There Were Three, referring obviously to the fact that they were now a trio with Phil Collins, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks. And they had their first real chart hit, I think, with Follow You, Follow Me, off of this, which came off of this record in 1978. Here's just show you the gatefold real quick. It's got all the lyrics for it, with it. Down and Out, which is the lead-off track to this album, is fantastic. And it's got really different sounding drumming. It's very, it's probably the most proggy track on this record, but it's really good. And once again, it showcases the huge talents of Phil Collins as a drummer. So I enjoyed this one a lot. You can tell that this is a transitional album. You know, it doesn't have, they're forging the sound that would make them mega stars with this album. It didn't have the same kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It just, this is what most people recognize Genesis as becoming, starting with this album. So, and then there were three. This was a very pleasant listen, I gotta say. And then an album that's not necessarily a pleasant listen is Raw Power by Iggy and the Stooges. And this is the, this version has both the remastered original mix from David Bowie, and it has, it's called the Iggy Pop mix, which is also included. So it's a 2-disc set of the same album. I'd basically stick with the original just because it's what I'm the most used to. You know, I've heard these songs over and over quite a bit, and hearing it in a different mix is okay, but it's not really enough to change my mind over which I like better. And I know the Bowie mix has its imperfections. It's not really a great recorded album. It's not recorded all that well, but it really doesn't need to be because it's the Stooges. And the Stooges were always a, you know, from the gut band. You know, they weren't going to be producing these polished jewels of albums like Steely Dan or something like that. You know, these guys were garage rock plus, you know, they were just barely above lo-fi. So, and it fits them just fine. And I wouldn't expect anything less from Iggy. So, uh, the only Stooges album I have left that I need is the first one. I've got Funhouse and I've got this one. So someday down the line, I'll probably end up getting a reissue because this was a reissue as well. And so was Funhouse because I'm never going to get my hands on OG copies of this stuff. So, and that's okay. But as a kind of like a palate cleanser from the other stuff that I've been listening to, this was nice. Raw Power by Iggy and the Stooges. Then I got to finally, I waited to play this album until I could devote a good amount of attention to it and focus in on it. This was VCLT from my buddy Brad from a while ago. It's by the band called 07 and it's called Simple Things. And here's the back. I really enjoyed this album. As soon as I put it on, it just put me in that relaxed, chill mood. It's not quite trip hop, but it's good music to relax to. Most of it's instrumental. Some of it has vocals, which I think Sia was mentioned to me as the vocalist, which she has a great voice. I only know her from what my kids listen to from her, but it was nice to hear her in this setting too. I forgot if this was her first album or not, but I know they've got other ones. And I'd be interested in getting more. So Simple Things by 07. This was a good pick to send me, Brad. This was perfect. I really dug this album, I gotta say. And then another album from the back of the crate is The Cure. This is their compilation from 1986 called Standing on a Beach, the singles. Here's the back, and here are the songs without too much glare. I was familiar, obviously, with most of these songs, not every single one. This is the only Cure album I have. They've been tough to find for me on vinyl too. And I got this on eBay, I want to say last year sometime. And I really had to fight for it. I had to like snipe at the very end to get it. So, you know, that's just the way it goes with certain bands are just like that for me. I just have a very difficult time finding them on vinyl. So, I mean, of course, there's other Cure albums that I would love to have. Just haven't run across them. That's all. Or I haven't hunted them down aggressively enough, I guess, to get them. So, but this one will suffice for now. This has all of their early hits, you know, up to 86, 85, 86, something like that. So a great compilation of their early stuff, Standing on a Beach by The Cure. And finally, we get to the last album. It's by a band called White Denim. And the title of it is Stiff. And I don't even know what this cover picture is supposed to mean, but it's different. Here's the songs. This was a VCLT from my anonymous giver. I'm not going to say who it was, but this person referred to this band and this album as reminiscent of like the Black Keys, that type of sound. And I was able to get that to a certain degree. This album isn't quite as raw as the Black Keys can be or can sound, but I could definitely see the comparison. So it was pretty valid, I thought. I knew nothing about this band or any of their music, so this was a complete blank slate when I first played it, and I enjoyed it. It was, I can't even tell you which songs I like best because I really don't know this record that well. I need to play it a couple more times, but I enjoyed it. And while I didn't see as much of a comparison to the Black Keys as this person did, I get it. I get where he's coming from. So this was a good choice to send me to. And this copy also came with a CD of it, which is handy because I can put this on my iPod and I can devote more time listening to it when I'm in the car or doing my walking, which I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to walk more, trying to get more exercise. Of course, now it's in the 90s out and summer has come upon us here with a vengeance. So it's like all month we've had nothing but cold and dismal days with just a few sunny days in between, and now all of a sudden the switch is flipped and now we are into the heat. Because I was dying when I made my video yesterday at the cemetery. I was dying. It was like 95, no breeze, humid. I was just a sweat ball. And I'm going to be one too today when I go back to work on second shift, which I start today. It's just the way it goes. A couple of quick notes here before I sign off. The Discogs project is proceeding still. I have 762 albums logged so far. I am into the R's in my alphabetically divided collection. Actually, I'm doing the REM albums right now. I'm in the middle of that. I still got a ways to go. It's been a tough slog, I gotta tell you. But I still want to do a video on that because I've come across some sort of interesting things in my collection. But I want to get it all done first, and then I'll go back and pick things out to show. So there's that. Been a lot of meetups in the VC lately, which I think is awesome. Wish I could have been a part of all of them because there's so many of you that I want to meet in person. So I'm going to throw this out there. As you guys know, I'm a shift worker, so it's a crapshoot on whenever I'm available to do stuff because I'm not working. So I haven't been to a record show all year, and it looks like the only one that I'm going to be able to go to this year in Hillside is the one that's coming up on July 14th. So if any of my local people here in Illinois are going to the Hillside Record Show on July 14th, which is a Sunday, I'm going to be there. So hopefully we can at least take a picture together or meet up or just say hi. Because I love meeting you guys too. But there's very few people that are local to me that are in the VC. So just throwing it out there. Because there's also record shows in Countryside. It kind of alternates between the two cities, but the Countryside one is much, much smaller. It's only like one room. And sometimes, like the last time I went there, that room was only about half full. So the Hillside one is the one to go to. It's much larger, and your chances of finding stuff are much, much greater, and it's much more crowded. So just throwing it out there in case anybody decides to go. And you see me, or if I see you, just say hi. Because I love you guys. I want to meet you. Okay, for Spin Zone, I did really good. I'm only at 18 and a half minutes, so that's pretty much what I've got to show today. Everybody have a great weekend. Everybody stay cool. Peace. And I'll see you all soon.